Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome back to Steelers Almighty. Appreciate everybody out there. Thank you guys for tuning in, as always. Got a good show for you guys today, man. Got some interesting topics to talk about. First things first, Russell Wilson. Seems like he's out of here. All reports are showing that he is not going to be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll dive into that next. Is Big Ben a first ballot Hall of Famer? You know, Eli Manning just got passed over for being, I don't think Eli Manning was snubbed, but is Big Ben a first ballot Hall of Famer? I don't think there's any doubt of being a Hall of Famer, but is he first ballot? We'll take a look at that. Steelers. Should the Steelers trade TJ Watt? There's talks out there, rumors flying around. Should the Steelers trade him? Does it make sense? And then, last but not least, Steelers realistic expectations in 2025. We're going to take a look at what our expectations, mine, yours, what should they be? Or better yet, what actually are the expectations for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward? So we'll take a look at all of that and more. We appreciate everybody out there. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Thank you for showing up and showing out like you always do. Remember, you can find Steelers Almighty on YouTube at youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. Anywhere that you have social media, you can find Steelers Almighty, and everywhere that you get a podcast, if you like the audio, you can find Steelers Almighty there. Remember also, Steelers memberships are out and about. Make sure if you want to help support the channel that way, you do so. A lot of content on that side. So make sure that you sign up to become a member if you choose to help support the channel in that way. Also got a new series out, My Position by Position. We're letting those things out as they come. Deep dive into the Pittsburgh Steelers as far as what they should do for 2025 and what each position breakdown may look like. So make sure you guys take a look at that, get in those comment sections, hit that like button, all that good stuff. So remember, like, follow, subscribe. And again, hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Let's get into this thing. So, Russell Wilson's out of there. Now, that might be music to a lot of people's ears. It might be troubling, let's just say that, to other people's. There doesn't really seem to be a middle ground when it comes to Russell Wilson. It seems to be that people either want him back and like him, or they despise him and they want no part of him in 2025. No middle ground, you know. Now, that might be the case because is there actually going to be any middle ground? Because if he came back, is he really going to be fighting for the job? Like, what would that look like? So that's one thing. Now, the Jay Glazer put out the report that Russell Wilson is not coming back. Now, one thing to keep in mind, a lot of people are taking the source of it getting out to the Steelers as saying, well, we don't necessarily know. We don't know if he's going to come back, yada, yada. We don't know if we believe that source. Keep this in mind. As far as the media goes, Jay Glazer is Mike Tomlin's buddy. And that's not myth. That's not hyperbole. That's not a rumor. People know that. That's something that is well known as far as Jay Glazer. You know, anytime he comes out with news from the Steelers, it's accurate. So if he's coming out talking about Russell Wilson's not going to be there, we should believe it. It's going to be accurate. Fields may also not be the starter. That's another thing that Jay Glazer came out and said, which is wild. And it's like, well, hold on. Said that they weren't just 100% sold on Fields. So if Russ is not coming back, you're not 100% sold on Fields, what are we doing? Oh, it's like, man, where do we go? This was a conversation that I had twice this week on several different lives that I was on. One here on the big show. Another one was on Mike Drop Sports, which I was on with him on Wednesday. It was like, well, where do the Steelers go if neither one of them come back? And I didn't really have an answer. I'm like, I don't know. Like, would you sign Daniel Jones? You know, Zach Wilson? Do you draft a guy and then that's the guy? I'm just, man, it would be troubling. It would be troubling, but it is a real possibility, people, because neither one are under contract. And again, it's a two-way street. They have to want to come back to Pittsburgh. So do either of them even want to come back? I know Russell Wilson's been at this a while, so he's saying all the right things, but does he really want to be back in a Steelers uniform? Justin Fields really hasn't said anything, so you don't know where his mind's at. He may still be spinning about, I can't believe they didn't give me a real chance to win the job. But when I did have the actual job, I didn't do enough to win the job. So who knows what's going on? It would be a disaster if neither one of them came back. I'm just telling you right now, it would be a disaster. But all intensive reports are no Justin Field or no Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields is a big maybe. Oof, oof, man, I don't. And like I said, I don't like it. I don't like it that neither one of them are coming back. I've been a proponent. You guys have heard me say I don't want Russ back. I'm fine with that. If he wants to go, he can go. Okay. Because especially with the amount of money that they're talking about Russ is going to get, 2 years, like 60 million. Yeah, no, I'll pass on that for Russell Wilson. I didn't see near enough, not near enough to be giving him 2 years, $60 million. Sorry. No, 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 no. Which is why I want Justin Fields. But Fields got to do it. He's got to do more than what he showed us. He's got to do more. Wasn't given the opportunity, I don't believe, but we'll see. We'll see moving forward. Got a good poll question for you guys, man. Got a real good poll question. Let's go to it. Do you think that Russell Wilson will be a starting quarterback in the NFL in 2025? A, yes, one, or B, no one? Pretty straightforward. Do you think that Russell Wilson is going to start somewhere in 2025? I kind of believe that he will, but who knows? I mean, you don't know how this thing is going to play out, but I would think that he will. Let's move on. So Big Ben, so he's retired. He's had some things to say about the Steelers here lately, about the lack of offense and why. All true, by the way. But is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Like, I don't think there's any question that Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer. Clearly, he's that. But is he going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Now, let me give you my interpretation on what I think a first ballot Hall of Famer should be. And then you guys, obviously, you'll get in the comments, you'll tell me whether I'm right or wrong. And, it'll be neither here nor there. I think first ballot Hall of Famers are the upper echelon. Like guys that, not that hey, if you tell the story of pro football, can you tell it without them? No, no, no. These are the guys that stand out from that. The Tom Brady's, the Peyton Mannings, the Joe Greens, of the world. Rod Woodson's, Lawrence Taylor's, Deion Sanders, those guys. That's who I'm talking about as far as the upper room, the Walter Paytons. Those are the people that first ballot Hall of Famers. Now, are there going to be some years that maybe you let somebody is a first ballot because maybe there's not enough on that Hall of Famers that qualify? Maybe. But with the number of people that qualify that have had outstanding careers that could be considered Hall of Famers, I don't know that you'd really run into that. So first ballot to me is upper echelon people. Upper echelon. Doesn't mean you're not a Hall of Famer if you get in the second time or the 10th time. But for the first ballot, it's got to be upper echelon. Now let's go to Big Ben. Let's talk about the negatives for Big Ben first. No all pros. Okay. Didn't have an all pro season in the minds of voters anyway. No MVP votes. Like never did Big Ben get a vote for the MVP. No Super Bowl MVPs. One of Ben's biggest claims to fame is that he won 2 Super Bowls, which we'll get into that. But he didn't win the MVP in either one of them. Okay. So, and I know a lot of people thought, well, when we beat Arizona, he should have been the MVP. But here's the thing about it. If there was a question mark on whether he could have been or couldn't have been, they chose a different route. So how dominant of play did he really have? You know what I'm saying? Like, how dominant was he, especially in a close game where the question of who the MVP, it was in doubt. Okay. So there's that. Um, there's other things. Now, the one thing that I'm not going to talk about, or I'll talk about it now, but I'm not going to use that as criteria, is some of the stuff that Ben did, early in his career. We don't need to go into that. I think we all know as far as some of the things that he did off the field, the transgressions. I don't think that's going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, but could that keep him from being a first balloter? Probably. If you know how finicky those voters are anyway. So will it keep him out? No. But could they keep him off of being a first ballot? Yeah, they could. Now, I get it. I know the first thing you're going to say, look at OJ. OJ was already in. Okay. So everything that happened with him was after he had already been in. So you got to let that part go. Lawrence Taylor, that's something different. Lawrence Taylor was doing it while he was playing. But it was Lawrence Taylor. And there was no doubt. And they didn't start bringing in character issues until T.O., which to me was nuts. That you would even bring it in with T.O. T.O. should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts, people. You can hate him for whatever you think and perceive he did off the field. But on the field, Terrell Owens was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay. But character wasn't a part of what the criteria was. And they used to say so in the room. Well, are they going to bring that up with Ben Roethlisberger? I don't know, man. I don't know. But let's go to some positives. Like I mentioned, he's a two-time Super Bowl winner. A lot of people are going to say, well, he got carried to those. The defense was so good. I'll give you the first one. The second one, he had maybe the best throw or the most clutch throw in the history of the Super Bowl. So he didn't get carried in that game at all. Did the defense score a touchdown? Yeah. But the defense also got torched, and that was supposed to be one of the greatest defenses in the history of the NFL. The Cardinals went up and down the field in the second half on them. They kind of had their way. So, yeah, Ben didn't get carried in that Super Bowl. He also went to a third one. Lost, didn't play well. I'll give you that. Had two bad interceptions, but he went. Ben's career is weird. It is weird. He was fifth all time in passing when he retired. There's not a lot of people that don't follow the Steelers that are going to know that. That's what I'm talking about. Steelers are not known as this, well, they throw it all over the lot team. Ben did that later on in his career. The Steelers were throwing the ball all over the place. So there's not going to be a ton of people that outside of people that follow. Now, granted, sports writers are all going to know, but people that follow the Steelers or don't follow them, if you just go ask them, hey, where was Ben Roethlisberger when he finished as far as passing yards in the league? Where do you think he was? People would probably say 12th, 8th. No, he's 5th, man. 5th. It's crazy. He led the league in passing twice. Again, not a lot of people know that don't follow the Steelers. And then he's also one of 5 quarterbacks that have won 160 plus regular season games. Now that a lot of people would know because that's one of Ben's biggest selling points. The Steelers were good when he was the quarterback, man. They were really good. Like I mentioned, he won a lot of football games. He won 2 Super Bowls. He made a lot of plays. But like I mentioned, they just left Eli Manning out. Now, statistically, I would say that Big Ben is better than Eli. But Eli's got those 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Does that mean more? I mean, you don't have no argument for me. Ben Roethlisberger is better than Eli Manning. I don't even think there's any debate. But when it comes to first ballot Hall of Fame status, does Big Ben get that? Take the Steeler fandom off for just a second and just deal with the actual realities of everything. If you do that, then answer in the comments. Let me know what you think. Because it's easy for us Steeler fans. Absolutely. What are you talking about? You're crazy. Let's take the Steeler glasses off for just a second and look at it objectively. Look, I have a hard time doing it too because I'm a diehard Steeler fan just like you guys. So I have a real hard time looking at this. But when I do, it's tricky. It's tricky. I'll just say that. It's very tricky. Let's go to the poll question, people. Big Ben. That's a good one. Is he a Hall of Famer? Now, here's a good question, though. Do you believe that Big Ben and Antonio Brown will eventually both be in Canton? A, yes to, or B, no to? That's an interesting one, man. the Ben, I think, is easy. The Antonio Brown gets tricky, especially the way his career ended and he basically sabotaged his own career. And now that they are including character issues in how they are allowing people to get into the Hall of Fame, I mean, it doesn't get worse than the last time you were on an NFL field, you quit on your team and you ran out of the stadium. It doesn't get worse than that. Literally, does not get worse than that. Just quit, run out of the stadium. Not sure how it could get worse. It can't. So does Antonio Brown get there? And again, it can't be Ben or either or. It's do both. That's the question. That is the question. Let's move on, man. We're at halftime. So look, I always do. I appreciate everybody that has supported, subscribed, joined as a member, watched, commented, even if you disagree. We appreciate all feedback and all the support that you guys have given Steelers Almighty up to this point, man. It has been incredible. We started April 4th of 2024, closing in on the 1-year mark. So we do appreciate you guys, man. Remember, I mentioned memberships. They are still open and available. Make sure if you want to help support the channel that way, you sign up. You know exactly what to do. Same thing as far as subscribing. Make sure you always like, follow, subscribe, dive into the comments section, and let us know exactly what you're thinking. Hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. But as far as memberships, I said you know what to do. If you don't know what to do, pretty simple. Just hit the button on the front of the page. It says join. Boom, boom, boom. You can do that. There's also going to be a link in the comments section for you to do that. And if you like the audio, there's definitely a link in the comments or in the description for you guys to sign up to be a member of Steelers Almighty. Appreciate you guys, man. Let's get back to it. So, should the Steelers move off of TJ Watt? Should the Steelers trade him? Is it time? Now, the first thing you guys are breaking your screens, your phones, yelling at me, unsubscribing, Big B, you're nut. First of all, I didn't say that we should. I'm just asking a question. Should the Steelers trade TJ Watt? Is it smart? Is it wise? What do you think? You know? So let's dig into it. Let's dig into that. The first thing as far as TJ is that it's not a bad idea. That's the one thing that Steeler fans, we have to come to realization. It's not a bad idea. And the reason that I say that is we've won no playoff games with him. Now, is it his fault that we haven't? No, I'm not blaming him, clearly. But we still haven't won. I mean, the fact remains we haven't won any playoff games with him. We would be able to get a first-round pick minimum if we decided to trade him. If we do trade him, that means the Steelers are in rebuild mode. How do you feel about that? Number one. But yeah, that it would be we're ready to move on. We're ready to start over. Let's retool this thing and go about it a different way. Now, he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want out. He, at least publicly, he hasn't said anything. He's actually said the opposite. So I want to be here. I want to be part of the reason that we get this thing turned around in the right direction. And I say turned around, it just getting over the hump is what it should be. So maybe I misspoke. Getting over the hump, because we don't need to turn anything around. It's not like we're a 4-win team. We just need to get over the hump of winning playoff games. And he says he wants to be a part of that, so you take him at his word. TJ hasn't lied, so you take him at his word. But the fact still remains. Are the Steelers better off now and in the future trading him? Like what does it look like? I mean, now here's what I do know. When healthy, I personally still believe that he's the best defensive player in the world. That's me. When healthy, and we know that down the stretch, TJ Watt was not healthy. He was not healthy. But when he is, I still think he's the best defensive player in the world. Does he have some limitations? Yeah, he does. But those limitations don't stop him from being the best defensive player in the world. Not in my opinion. So there's that. There's that. They can win with him. That's the one thing that you would say, well, no, let's not trade him. Can you? But if you don't, can you win? Yeah, they can win. TJ, they just need to have solid offense and quarterback play more than anything. Get some solid quarterback play and then go win you something. But that would be one of the things is they haven't had that. They haven't had, like, for instance, if they had a quarterback that was good, and now part of it was the offensive line this year, but better quarterback play, maybe they can win some of these games, these playoff games, you know? But can you win with TJ Watt, or can the Steelers win with him? Yes. Yes. In the playoffs, they can win, but he can't do it alone. He needs help. Even on the defensive side, yes, he needs plenty of help. So he can be part of the solution like he says he wants to be. But you can't just ignore the fact of he does get hurt. Okay. Now, football, it's football, so guys get hurt, but TJ gets hurt a lot. He does. He's about to be 30. And if he's about to be 30, I mean, is it time? Do you get rid of a guy a year too early versus a year too late? My only problem with that is if you traded TJ Watt and that's your theory, I think you'd be getting rid of him 3 years too early, which would be a colossal mistake. A colossal mistake. So I don't think you do it, but you can't just dismiss it. Kind of like when I brought up the question earlier in the week, would you trade Myles Garrett for TJ Watt? People just immediately, no way, absolutely not. I'm like, hold on a second. I'm not saying that I would do it, but you can't just dismiss Myles Garrett like he's nothing. Same with this. No, I wouldn't trade TJ Watt. I don't think you need to do that. But you can't just dismiss it immediately like it's an insane thing to do, because it isn't. It may not be right because you can still get outstanding years out of him, but that doesn't mean that you don't. Okay, let's think about this for a second. If somebody called, what are they willing to give us? Now, if it doesn't start with first round pick, the answer is no. Even if it's, hey, we'll give you a second and a third, I would say I need a 1 and a 4 before you're 2 and a third. That would just be me. But either way, I'm not sure I would do it. Not sure I would do it. TJ's a pillar. I feel like he's a one helmet guy. We got to help him. We got to help him. He wants to be part of the solution. We got to help him. And we're about to pay him. That's another thing. So we're about to pay him. And if we do, I know people are thinking, man, we got to pay him a ton. It still frees up even more cap space because we can extend him and put the money at other places. You know how they allocate it and move it around. That would give the Steelers even more, cap space to help him. So let's go to the poll question, people. Let's go to the poll. How fundamentally against trading TJ Watt, no matter what the assets are you get back, are you? So how fundamentally against trading TJ Watt, no matter what those assets are you? So that's a good question. Like, A, very against it. B, somewhat against it. C, somewhat for it. Or D, totally for it. I'll be interested to see what you guys say on this one. Very against, somewhat for it, Totally for it. Be very interested to see what you guys have to say. Let's move on. So, realistic expectations for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, as fans, I talked about this on my morning walk today. Like, what are the expectations for the Steelers? What should they be? We're all crazy fans. So, is the expectation for you? Is it Super Bowl or bust? Like, if they don't win the Super Bowl, then the season didn't mean anything. Is that where we should be as fans? Like, hey man, they lost the Super Bowl, damn them, or whatever they haven't. If they don't win the Super Bowl, I don't care about the season. Nothing else matters. Okay, that's an approach. Or do we want playoff wins? You know, is it important to finally win a playoff game after almost a decade of not winning one? Would you be okay if that's where the Steelers were? If that's what the expectations were? Is it a division title? Okay. Do you want a division title? Say, hey, man, I want to win this division every year. We got some good teams in this division. I want to make sure we win it. Or is it the old Mike Tomlin special of being over 500? Are you okay with that? Now, here's the thing. When we were talking and we were having these conversations before Art Rooney II said he was very comfortable with Mike Tomlin, I was out here saying, hey, man, it's time to move on. We need Mike Tomlin. We need him to be better. And if he's not going to be better and make changes, it's time for him to move on. It's time for us to move on from him. There was a lot of you out here that were screaming, hey, he's never had a losing season. He's above 500. Well, is that your expectation? Are you happy with that? Are you fine with that? Because the majority of us are not. I'm one of that majority. I'm one of those people. I'm not fine with above 500. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Because you can be 9-8, and well, you never had a losing season. I don't care. I literally don't care anymore about that. Because if they went 8-9, let's just say it was a bad AFC, and one year the Steelers went 8-9, losing season, but won 2 playoff games. Would you care? No, you wouldn't. And neither would I. Neither would I. So that's all I'm saying about the 500 record. It can be manipulated, like a lot of numbers can be manipulated. Now, on the flip side of that, Super Bowl or bust, I think that's going a little overboard. I damn the season. We didn't win the Super Bowl. It don't mean nothing. I get the fandom, man. I'm a crazy fan too. I am. And there's the flip side of this, the heartache side. And what I mean by the heartache side is, you've seen the people in our lives that get in there, and even in the comments on the podcast that get in, the Steelers are never going to win anything. They never do anything right, yada, yada, yada. And those are the fans that they're real fans, but they don't want to be disappointed. So they don't want to get their hopes up only for the Steelers to let them down. They don't want to have to deal with that. They don't like dealing with failure and disappointment. For me, I think that's part of it. I think the disappointment is part of being a fan. None of us like it. None of us like it. But I think that's part of, you know what? I want to win every game. I live and die by every snap, every single play. And when we don't come through, I'm crushed. I think that's part of being a crazy fan, man. I think that's part of it. I think it's fun. I enjoy doing that. But yeah, that's part of it. And those people get it. They just can't deal with the disappointment. Playoff wins. Are we okay with playoff wins? That's what myself, and a lot of people were screaming, hey, let's just be competitive in the playoffs. Let's go win a game. Let's have some hope. Just some hope. Like this year, there was no hope. The Steelers were struggling. We were going to Baltimore. We tried to talk ourselves into hope, but did we really think we were going to win? No. Just like the year before in Buffalo. Did we really think we were going to win? No. Just like the time before when we were in the playoffs against Kansas City. Did we think we were going to win? No. No. The last time we probably thought we were going to win a playoff game, we ended up getting blown out, was Cleveland at home during COVID. We thought we were going to win, and then we ended up getting blown out. It was absolutely disgusting. So, are you okay with that? Or just the division? I don't think I know anybody that's okay with just winning the division. I don't think I've come across a Steelers fan that has said, hey, man, if we win the division, that's all that matters. We're all good. I don't think I've come across anybody who said that. But the expectations have to start lining up. And look, whatever your I don't think there's really a right or wrong. It's just whatever you want. There's realistic and there's unrealistic, but who the hell am I or anybody else to say what is realistic and what isn't? Because we're all crazy fans. You know what I'm saying? We're all nuts. So, you can know all the football you want, but when it comes down to it, we are absolute head cases when it comes to being a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. So let's go to the poll question. It's a good one. It's early, but how many games do you see the Steelers winning in 2025? A, under 6, B, 6-8, C, 9-11, and D, 12 plus. It's funny because the answer to these, for the people that do, are going to kind of tell me and tell yourself and tell everybody else what your actual expectations are. Like anybody that says 12 plus for the Steelers, they are a Super Bowl or bust type of person. Under 6, we're a 500 type of team. As long as we can get to 500, I'll live with it. So, be very interesting, man. It'll be very interesting to see that. So, look, there's a lot going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, trying to figure out how to put a roster together. Clearly, quarterback is the number one objective. Got to figure out who that's going to be before free agency. I know you got to sign free agents, but I think there's got to be a point in time where we got to get this thing figured out and then move forward with somebody else. Put all your eggs in a basket, go get your quarterback, and then get it all figured out. And I know they can't sign until free agency. I understand that, but you can leak stuff. Stuff gets leaked. The teams are talking, not like teams aren't talking. And they're not supposed to be. I understand, but they are. They are. Everybody does it. So we're no different. But yeah, a lot of things moving. Do what 2025 is going to look like. It's February. It's a Super Bowl. It's a good time to talk about it. So I wanted to talk about it. What should the expectations be? What everything looks like. I think that's important. And having an identity. I've been big on identity this week with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got to find an identity. Who do we want to be? And then go get the pieces to match that. If we can't figure out who we want to be, you can't be a good football team. It's just impossible. It's impossible, man. So hopefully they get that done here in the next few weeks, and then we start putting the pieces together, man. So appreciate you all being in here as always. Thank you guys for showing up and showing out. Remember, memberships are available. Also, make sure you go check out the series, My Position by Position. Those are starting to roll out on the daily basis. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you as always, and aloha.